Look, we get a ton of calls and messages about this thing because I talk about the Dog Crate Condo, Toronto 416, GTA, Southern Ontario Condo Crash. I talk about it all the time, and we get a lot of comments. We get a lot of calls to our office. So this is what I want to explain to people. What happens if you can't close on the condo? What happens if you just, you can't? The Dog Crate condo you bought, you never expected to close on it. You thought you'd sell it by assignment, or you thought it would already have gone up in value a lot, or you thought that rents would have gone up a lot, and somehow that would work. You bought it pre-construction 5 or 6 years ago. Now it's ready. And when you study the building and you talk to realtors, you talk to people who've, already had similar problems, or go on a Facebook group or any kind of group, go on a Reddit chat about, hey, what happens? I think this condo is worth a lot less. And it turns out, yes, it's worth a lot less. You paid $980,000 for something that's now worth today $625,000. Okay. And you say to yourself, what's a disaster? That's such a disaster. What am I going to do? And you talk to your lawyer. Your lawyer says it's a valid contract. I mean, they can go after you if you don't, you try to get out of it. But then you start to look around for what's possible to do. And you realize that if you did close, maybe you've got to come up with another $200,000 of cash that you don't have. Maybe you never actually planned on ever closing. You planned on selling it by assignment. I won't do that whole spiel, but I mean, it is years ago. I mean, 5 years ago, you would sell it by assignment in 10 minutes. You bought something for $249,000, $289,000 condo in 2012, and you could sell it by assignment 4 years later for $369,000, and that happened every day. But now it's gone. That's all gone. So you're looking at this, you know that it's worth a lot less. You know that if you closed, you'd have to maybe throw $200,000 at it, or you could try to get a blanket appraisal from the banks who give blanket appraisals, which the idea there is, the bank says, we have an appraisal that says it's worth what you paid for it. Even though every other appraiser says it isn't. It's not worth what you paid for it. It's worth a lot less, $250,000 less. But still, that's a possibility. But here's your problem. You know that you didn't really qualify for a mortgage anyway. Like, you never planned on keeping this place. You either always planned on flipping it, or you planned that it would go way up in value, or you thought that rents would go to $4,000 a month for a Dog Crate condo. I don't know what people thought, but the bottom line is it's not financially feasible. And even if the bank can give you an appraisal with a kind of fictitious blanket value, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. You don't have enough. You don't want to lose $2,000 a month or more on the rents. You don't want to be shackled with this. You might, you know what? You just may not qualify. You may not qualify to get the mortgage, and you're going to have to go to private lending, and private lending is too expensive. And after you've thought about everything you could do to make this work, you decide it's hopeless, and you say to your lawyer, I can't close. Okay. Now, I'm now going to give you information, but I got to give you a couple of qualifiers. Number one, I am not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, and some lawyers would say you're not a lawyer, you're a shit advisor about everything to do with the law. Okay, I can live with that. People have called me shit for a lot of things. That's fine. So, all right, I'm not a lawyer at all. Okay, and I am not telling you to fail to close. I am not telling you to tell your developer you won't close. I am not advising you to do this. To everybody who's listening who has this problem, to everybody who's watching who has this problem, I am not advising you to do this at all. I'm not recommending it in any way. There are things that will put you in jeopardy legally if you do it. Okay, I've told you the two things I needed to say. Now let's move on. If you simply cannot close, there's no way you can close on this Dog Crate pre-construction condo that is now worth $250,000 less than what you contracted to pay for it. So typically you have given a deposit. It's either 10%, 15%, 20%. Mostly it's 20%. So if you bought it for $925,000, you've got like $185,000 into it. Well, you tell your lawyer you're not going to close, and your lawyer tells the developer's lawyer, and the developer immediately says, well, we're seizing your deposits. It's going to be ours now. We're seizing it. You've broken the agreement. And we're going to litigate. We're going to send you, we're going to go after you, we're going to file a statement of claim, okay, how's that work? That means a lawyer's letter will go out to you either immediately, because your lawyer said we're not going to close. We are not closing on this transaction. So you're going to get a letter immediately from their corporate lawyer for the developer, and it will seem very scary. Like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to win. You're going to file a statement of claim. You're going to be subject to legal costs. You're going to be subject possibly to paying our legal fees. It's going to go really, really bad, and you better close. Okay, but you can't close. So first of all, don't panic. Do not panic. You have not broken the laws of Canada. I know I sound like I'm trying to be a lawyer, but I'm just stating facts. You didn't break the law of Canada. The law of Canada is like criminal code and that stuff. That's the law of Canada. You broke a contract. That's tort law. That is arguments over contracts is what tort law is all about. So you will eventually be served a statement of claim that says you owe us all this money. You've got to make total restitution for everything. And they might say, yeah, so you owe us $700 and some odd $1,000, plus costs, plus interest, plus this, plus that. Here's the thing. You can file a statement of defense. You can file a statement of defense for basically any reason. It's not gonna save you. You're filing a statement of defense to create the possibility of delay. And what's the story of delay? Well, first of all, in the law, delay is a pretty good thing. Things get delayed all by themselves. But create more delay and not get a summary judgment, because that's what you end up having. You get a default summary judgment. If you don't defend, it just eventually gets in front of a judge and he says, well, they're not here. You're guilty. That's it. So you should file a statement of defense, dream up whatever reasons it is, try to be as truthful as possible, try to explain your situation, but file a statement of defense. And that creates some delays. There's also something called, in all contract law, there's something called mitigation of damages. So in other words, if the developer knows that you're not closing, he can't just leave the unit empty. He has to take measures to try to recoup income. And typically the correct approach would be to offer the property for sale at obviously a lower price, because he's got your deposit, so he could discount your deposit easily. He's got that money, and see if he can sell it. So if he can eventually sell it, in theory, you would owe them the difference plus legal costs, plus commissions, plus whatever, and they could go after you for that. But you won't owe the whole thing. You will not, okay? And then the other thing about court cases is they're almost exclusively settled out of court. So you make an offer, they counter offer, you make an offer, and you end up giving them some money. I have no clue what money you're going to give them, but in reality, that's what's going to happen. There's going to be some sort of settlement. So that's the way to look at it. If you think, well, if I close on this place, I don't have a blanket appraisal, so it looks like I got to come up with another $180,000 because the appraisal is much less, and I also have to lose $2,200 or $2,300 a month on the rent and the maintenance fee, and monthly condo fees, and I got to lose money on the property tax. So I think I'd just rather go lose my deposit, which was gone already. The money's gone, and I will try to make a settlement. So those are sort of what your options are if you decide not to close. Simple as that.